Subscribe to Simply Bitcoin.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Meme Factory podcast. This is test stream number 25. As you all know at this point, there will never be a real stream. We only do test streams. That way nobody can cancel us. This evening, we are graced by none other than the presence of Texas Slim, who this evening seems to be going as Beef Initiative. So, Beef, if you could, give us an idea of who you are.
Well, everybody calls me Texas Slim. I am from Texas, and I'm basically the founder of the Beef Initiative. And what we're doing is we're opening up people's eyes about the food, lack of food intelligence in this nation, and the importance of pure animal protein. And we're bringing, I started in the Bitcoin space so we could bring Bitcoiners into some intentional living when it comes to our food. And so we can kind of disrupt the food industry, bring in Bitcoin, and then decentralize our food industry. That's the long and the short of it. We just launched. I've been building this for about a year now, and getting a lot of good feedback. And I think I've made it now since I'm here.
Michael Saylor said that eventually all the great thinkers in the space make it to this podcast.
Well, here it is, 2022, and we're kicking it off correctly. So
yeah, you're in good company.
You bet.
All right, so if you've seen the show before, you understand that we make most of our money through the advertising. I've sent you the ad copy that we need read for us this evening, because that's part of the deal. Suscorp maybe says have the guests read it. Whenever you're ready, if you want to go ahead with that, have at it.
Sure. I'm going to be very professional about this too, because I know how hard you try. And, sometimes you come up short, but we'll see if you come up short tonight. This is Texas Slim. This episode of the Meme Factory podcast is brought to you by the hardworking men and women at Suscorp and their new product, soy sausage. So Suscorp has brought together two of the most divergent projects in the world, soy protein and penis shapes. Per one top executive at the company, we wanted our customer to really feel how we think about them. So cram that sausage down your mouth hole and suck it down that soy boy. Suscorp will help you bring about a great reset in the way Americans source their protein with the GMO to go initiative. And we're not going to stop until we put our sausage in everybody's mouth. Soy sausage can be found at sausagetossuckahole.com. The first time buyers can receive 50% of their first purchase with discount code ethanol. Brought to you by the Beef Initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get paid now. Thank you.
That was good, actually. That was very creative.
Thank you.
And it sends out it's a good distraction, and it's a very good form of interference. So I give you props.
Thank you. It's
You're welcome.
When you say interference, you're talking about between your mouth and the sausage.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. All right. So
whatever visual you got to come up in that little brain of yours, go for it. That's on you, man.
Fuck you, Slim. All right, man. Simple question. The hell's happening to our food supply?
Their food supply has become a global marketing plan, basically. All you have to do is look at our health as a nation. The last 2 years proved that we're unhealthy. Our health is compromised as the United States. I went in and I did a lot of deep research, and I embedded myself in a harvest company this past year. I went and talked to the people that are selling the chemicals, the people that are basically genetically modifying our seeds, all across the board. I went and kind of looked at it. I come from agriculture. My grandfathers, my ancestors come from agriculture and ranching. It's in the blood. It was never a lifestyle for me as far as a career, but I know it pretty well. So I understand basically distribution, processing, basically who controls our food supply. Not too many people realize this. Our food supply, almost about 100% of it, if you are in the industrial side of our food supply, is controlled by a chemical company. most of our food is basically grown with the approval of a chemical company. And so whenever you have a chemical company in charge of your food supply, I think nutrition takes a back seat. Since the devaluing of our dollar in, let's say, 1971, what the fuck happened in 1971? We devalued our dollar, went off the gold standard. Anything that has touched that in our food supply, basically a devalued dollar devalues your food supply in ways that we have not really understood up until now. Our food supply basically is a fake commodity that is profit driven and basically based on control of consumption.
When
Chemical company, go ahead.
when you say it's a fake commodity, what do you mean?
Well, let's look at after 1971, rapeseed, which was actually outlawed in 1956 for human consumption.
This is a family show.
Rapeseed is canola, and canola basically is in I don't know, it's in everything. It basically it's a byproduct that they put in everything that we consume, from candy bars to meat products to vegetable products to anything you want to touch to fry in it. Most of fast food, all of our fried food is fried in canola. In canola oil is basically, once something is outlawed by the FDA, that was for a reason. And the only reason they got out of that, basically not being able to be consumed by humans, is that they genetically modified seeds and they learned how to basically treat the chemicals in a way that wouldn't be overly toxic to us. That's one seed oil right there. And if you look at the other byproducts that they've developed this past year, the FDA won a lawsuit. And they're able to embed 1,000 new chemicals into our food supply in 2022 and 2023. It's called the GRAS rule, generally recognized as safe. If they can bypass any type of scrutiny of chemicals and they can label it as generally recognized as safe, we don't have to know what that chemical is. Well, that chemical is basically modifying our foods in ways that is making us obese and overweight and metabolically bankrupt. And that's been proven.
If I can back it up a second.
Sure.
Yeah.
What they got was
canola, yeah.
Well, not just why canola, but why sorry, with 1,000 chemicals that are now available for use through from this lawsuit, when you say they can pass it through without scrutiny because it's considered safe and effective, by what standards are they saying? Like, what are they pointing to and saying it's safe and effective? Look.
Well, that's USDA, FDA. They're hand in hand. We think that they are actually basically there for our safety. They have so many lobbyists that affect our laws and our legislation. And whenever you have a food supply as big as ours is, as far as feeding the world, those rules and regulations basically are not done for our safety. They're done for driving profits. Our food supply is nothing but a profit-driven subsidy market. And basically, by the time we're getting that food, it's so highly processed that the food aspect of it has been lost. What has won over is the amount of chemicals and amount of different byproducts that they can put into our food supplies and say, hey, this is okay for you. We've tested it in the lab and it doesn't kill you anymore. Yeah, we've got some reports that it might cause a little bit of, maybe a little obesity. But if you look at a lot of the scientific proof that they've covered up throughout the years, as far as tests that's been done on mice or animals, as far as canola, it affects the brain in different ways. It affects the pancreas in different ways. It affects your GI tract in different ways. They're able to cover that up with marketing and basically the type of corruption that it is in the food supply. As far as the FDA, really the Federal Drug Administration, seriously, that's who's saying it's okay to be safe. The FDA, who are they also, the opioid, whatever it is, epidemic that we had. The killers that killed everybody. There's so many things that the FDA approves that are basically deadly for our society. How we get away from that is the perception of the marketing plan that they present to us. And the more that we're separated from our food is basically the less that you're going to have any control over your nutritional value of your life.
So, if I can unpack that a little bit, what I'm hearing is there is a chemical company in control of certain aspects of our food supply, and their aim is to manufacture a product that what ostensibly produces a higher yield out of worse fields, but with no regard for the consequences to human life on eating said chemicals as long as they produce more.
That's exactly my question I had before. Like, why do they use why is this like overused of the granola, or like in the industry, like granola, or what's it?
Canola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's their incentive? I like they profiting more.
Sure. It's about money. It's about power. It's about controlling the seed. This last year, each year you look at our wheat crops, we're growing less wheat and more canola. And the reason they're able to do this because it brings a lot more money than wheat does, and they can put it in more products. And so the higher consumption models that they can build around canola, the higher profit margins they're making. And it's basic. I call it a weed. I mean, it's going to grow a lot easier. It grows easier with Roundup. Whenever you plant a seed anymore, that seed's not growing unless you put the pesticides and herbicides on it. It's not just going to grow. You're not going to put it in the soil and water it and it grows. Our seeds don't do that anymore. What? It has to have a certain pesticide. It has to have a certain herbicide.
How?
That's the only way. How?
Yeah. How do
they all work together, hand in hand.
How do you train a seed to only sprout once you've sprayed the pesticide on it?
Genetically modified.
Ask your dealer, Craig. Come on. What's that question, man?
Used to the farmers used to brown bag all their seeds, and they would save their seeds and they would plant the next year's crop. You can't brown bag anymore. You have to sign a technology use agreement. That is the original corporation that did that was Monsanto. Monsanto is now owned by Bayer. Bayer is the biggest pharmaceutical medical company in the world right now. So when I say chemical company, well, let's look at the umbrella of what we use as far as our medical, our pharmaceutical, our agricultural complex. We call it impact. All of these companies are associated with each other. The chemical companies are the ones that are actually helping modify the seeds. And so you get a company like Cargill. They're working with Monsanto. Hey, does this chemical work on this seed to make it grow? If it does, then we're going to make the farmer use this chemical, use this seed, and he's going to have to sign this contract. And at the end of the harvest, he can harvest his crop and then he can take it to market. And then they control the market of the seed that they grew that's genetically modified that was used to grow was with the pesticides and herbicides that they create. So it's a never-ending commodity market of chemicals and food that's basically become unhealthy for us. And if you look at our nation, we're 78% obese and overweight. I mean, come on, people. That's something that has just happened in the last couple of decades. You look at pictures in 1970, we were not obese and overweight. And this is not a judgment against anybody. This is just hardcore facts. People are dying because they're obese, overweight, and they're diabetic. 1 out of 2 Americans are now either diabetic or pre-diabetic. 46% of our children between the ages of 5 and 11 are now obese or overweight. That's a freaking problem, man. And nobody's talking about it because they can't connect the dots. And so that's what I've been doing. And there's a lot of people on Twitter and Bitcoin Twitter that have been talking about this stuff. They're missing a couple of aspects to it. And a lot of people can't say anything because it is going up against a freaking dinosaur. I mean, it's the global corporations. And so that's why I came up with the beef initiative, so we can circumvent around them with the decentralized ethos that we all think about within Bitcoin.
Before we get into the beef initiative, I want to make sure we identify the problem correctly. So,
sure.
The problem is centralized top-down direction and control of additives for the food supply, as well as the sources of food supply themselves. And that has been corrupted by a profit motive, if I understand What?
Pretty much.
Yeah, plus your face. Yeah.
So, all right. So there's the problem. Now, how would one go about doing things differently? How did we used to do it?
Well, how we used to do it, like I'll give you an example. There's a company called Rural DSM. They're a European company. Well, they did $8 billion in revenue this past year. All they do is design taste. They design chemicals to make you taste certain things. They can give you this is a family show, I won't say. They can give you a piece of crap and put some chemical on there and you think it's a damn cinnamon bun or whatever, a donut. And they're very good at it. And they introduce chemicals as far as taste chemicals into all kinds of different foods. And you would never even know that it had those chemicals in there. Whenever our kids in our society are tasting that food just because it's been engineered as a, hijacking our taste buds, nothing else matters after that. They don't have to worry about, supplying you a good product. And so if we understand how our taste buds have been hijacked, we can kind of take a step back and say, okay, let's see, why do I desire what I desire for what I consume? And you start saying, I need to get something that tastes more whole, something that my grandparents used to eat, and that maybe I was raised or everybody else was raised around. There's something that we used to do in the past that didn't have all these chemicals in it. And it started happening after 1971 for the most part. And so if we can take a step back, I don't shop at the grocery store very little. And when I do, I don't hit the middle aisles. Everybody, has heard that. One thing that I tell everybody is just get rid of the seed oils out of your life and look at the package. Just never eat a seed oil again as much as you can. And if you start there.
Wait. Even olive oil? Even olive oil?
No,
Yeah.
Olive oil is not a seed oil.
Okay.
Olive oil. So olive oil, olive oil is good, but if you look at the labels in a lot of olive oils, they're going to be blends. And if you got to be very knowledgeable to say, is this really truly olive oil or is it a blend? And once again, we're getting
I send you some Kalamata olive oil. It's okay. It's good.
I believe you, Yellow.
So what is it, like the extra virgin olive oil? That's the pure stuff.
Yeah, you got the good shit, and I understand that. I was going to ask you for some anyways.
So you don't want to ask Yellow for olive oil.
Yeah, no. It'll be yellow.
I get a bad visual there, so okay,
It's gonna be a box of Red Bull at best.
Malacum on top of it.
Yeah, some Malacum in there.
Yeah.
So can you?
Like a syrup.
So I don't know what the list of seed oils is. What are your top 10 offenders? Who are the top 10 seed oils?
Well, you're asking the wrong guy because I grew up eating from lard and
Well,
stuff. But,
if you're avoiding them, how do you know what to avoid?
Canola is bad for you. Okay, canola is horrible. Cottonseed oil. A lot of restaurants now use cottonseed oil. And it's like, really? Okay, then they think they're doing something that's cool, that they're using cottonseed instead of canola. And it's just, sunflower oil. I don't know about that. It just, any type of oil like that, why would you use it in the first place? Tell me, why do you use it? Who told you? The TV to tell you to use the seed oil? Why do you think it's good? Who's telling you this information? You've got to get to the source of the seed of that information, and who is basically making money off of telling you to eat this byproduct. It's all started in the early 90s. I'll tell you a story. Procter & Gamble they were a soap company and a candle company before we had electricity in the United States. Well, electricity got here. They quit selling candles and they created this little company called Crisco. So they turned Crisco cottonseed oil, which they were using to make candles, they turned it into something that you could fry with. And they got rid of animal fat, lard, all of that, the ghee, the tallow, the suet, everything animal fat that you could use for lard into frying. And it became a marketing plan, and they pushed it for years and years and years. And here we are now, is you can go to the supermarket and you'll have a full thing of just seed oils and oil. And it's like, why is everybody so, motivated to use these oils? Do they even know? What is the intention? Nobody can answer that question.
Yeah, purely
Butter
profit.
would be a better substitute.
Butter's yeah. I mean, the butter has a different temperature. You know, I cook all my steaks in butter for sure, and I make my own butter, and it's really easy to do. You just get really good cream, and you make butter. And you know, we
Well,
get a lot of.
I feel like you missed some steps.
How's
Yep.
that?
You, if
How
you
to
get
make this
you get the
butter.
really good
You
cream,
whip the shit,
and then you make
whip
the butter.
shit out of it. You
gotta
whip the
churn
shit
it.
out of it. Yeah.
Turn.
Oh, you
whip
gotta
the
churn
shit
it.
out of it. So-
Just churn
yeah.
it.
Show us how to churn,
baby,
Greg. Show us how to
baby,
churn.
turn.
All
Who
right.
knows it?
I'm gonna say something controversial.
Okay.
As a non-American, like the whole carnivore beef thing, like only that, like I eat a lot of beef and like pork and shit like that, but like only that, like that's weird to me.
It-
I don't know if you're only doing the carnivore yourself.
No, me,
No.
no.
Okay.
No, I eat animal protein. I grew up eating vegetables that were grown in gardens and stuff. And I have nothing against carnivore. I don't have anything against veganism, to tell you the truth, because what this is about is pure nutrition.
Yeah.
This is what this is about. This is not about, you know, everybody goes through these diets, paleo diet, the keto diet, the carnivore diet, the vegan diet, all that kind of crap. I don't pay attention to.
It's all over Bitcoin Twitter. That's why my point. Like,
yeah, it is. And I understand it. And a lot of people, I mean, I did Dr. Sean Baker, you know, the carnivore diet, and I did his podcast. It's all valid. What we need to really focus here, and what the Beef Initiative is about, is understanding what pure animal protein is again. And that's something that is actually, where is it grown? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a chemical company, or is it coming from a regenerative farmer that, you know, he uses those cows as land tools to rebuild that soil? And so
whatever you eat, like you have to be, it has to be localized, most of the time homegrown, with no pesticides and oils that cut profit for somebody's big companies most of the times. And
yeah,
as our grandfathers did, as you said.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my grandfather lived, I don't know, 20 miles outside of a small town called Lotney, Texas. Well, they fed each other, and it was the community that did it. They knew who was growing what. I mean, they had their farmers markets, and you know, we can't do all of that like they used to, but they had something that basically, most of our food comes from overseas. Why is that? You know, that's ridiculous. Well, that's because of global profit margins and yields. This is what they're trying to do. And they come to the preface of saying, well, we got to feed the world. Bullshit. We don't have to feed the world. We have to feed our communities first. And if you teach a community how to feed itself, then you're going to feed the world, because they're going to learn how to do it. That's how we got here in the first place.
True.
The reason that we talk about feeding the world is because the global corporations want power over our food supplies. You know, they have most of our seeds under a doomsday vault, and I believe it's Norway. You know, we don't have access to the heirloom seeds that our nation came with.
I thought that was controlled by some sort of foundation, not by a corporation.
Yeah. I tell you, one of those foundations that donated many millions of dollars was the Gates Foundation. So, you know, Mr. Bill Gates, he owns 244,000 acres of farmland in the United States too. And he's not much of a farmer, but he does have investments in 8 fake meat companies too.
So not your keys, not your seed. Is that what you're trying to say?
Pretty much.
in some aspects, for those big organizations, like bringing like, I don't know, tons and tons of oranges to the States and back and forth, and it's all like margin trading. It reminds me of margin trading. Like, it's all about, like, that's why we also have that amount of waste, right? Like the amount of waste, especially from the so-called first world countries, like it's huge.
Yeah, it just brings to my mind, like, just what you're saying, Yellow. Like, you have this food, but it's not even looked at as food. It's looked at as just dollar signs to these corporations.
Exactly.
To the chemical corporations and the food corporations, which they're really not even necessarily food corporations. They're just they're businesses, and their main business is profiting however they can. And so the incentives have mixed things up to where it's not necessarily about the quality or the quality of the food or the health of the individuals that they serve to, but it's just about how can we continue to push more food out no matter what.
Yeah, they don't care about quality. They buy cheap from one place, sell it a little bit more in the other place, and like the waste is calculated too, and it's acceptable. So they don't care.
All right.
Yeah.
So-
Go ahead.
How do we fix it, Slim?
Well, we become aware a little bit more. We just, nobody eats perfect. Nobody's overly healthy. We're not trying to do that. What we're really trying to do is point to a different lifestyle, intentional lifestyle. And once again, that's why I kind of came into Bitcoin, because we talk about proof of work, we talk about decentralization, and we talk about intentional living. We have to understand that our food is completely different from just even 10 years ago. We can't be random with our food anymore. We have to bring some food intelligence into it. And it doesn't have to be something that is painful. It doesn't have to be something that, is taxing on your current lifestyle or form of survival. You have to change your mindset a little bit, a couple of degrees, point your compass in a different direction than what you're used to. Quit making food so freaking a form of convenience, for one, and bring some like tradition back into it. Start, buying the right food. I'll give you an example. I have probably in the place I am right now, I have 6 months worth of beef. I know what I'm eating for the next 6 months. Once I know that, this Sunday, I'm making a big old freaking roast that I bought from my local producer. And so I'm very intentional about planning my meals, and I don't have to worry about it on a day by day basis. I know if I want to have a T-bone, I know if I want to have a ribeye, I want a steak, a ribeye. I mean, anything I want any day of the week, I've already planned for that. I've already paid for it. And it's actually a hell of a lot cheaper than going to the grocery store once a week too. I don't spend as much money now on food now that I'm going straight into the beef initiative, and I have that access, that market access to somebody that wants to know me, wants to be my friend. I want to know that rancher, and I want to go have a good relationship with them.
Is
I feel
that
totally go ahead.
Is that what the beef initiative is?
Yeah, pretty much. It's learning how to go out there and be your own food supply. And it's not that hard. We have technology. And I'm bringing in all the ranchers and saying, hey, ranchers, would you please teach us about what you do so we can understand, the care, the love, the intentionality you put into this lifestyle that is ranching. I want to know how you steward these animals, because it's about land management. It's about animal stewardship. And then rancher, we're going to teach you about Bitcoin, because we have a decentralized protocol here that we think that you're going to be able to use as a store of value in the future. Your grandfather kind of knew how to do it, but he didn't have Bitcoin. Well, let's bring his heritage into Bitcoin and let's have this conversation. Well, hell, that's a hell of a way to spend a Saturday to go hang out on a ranch, And if you can't do that, if you're in Manhattan, you're in Boston, one of those crappy cities like that, you can basically come through the beef initiative and you can start forming some relationships in how we actually communicate in the Bitcoin community. And so we just went live a couple of weeks ago. You can buy beef now through the beef initiative and pay in Bitcoin, and it can be shipped anywhere in the United States besides Hawaii and Alaska. That is our very first phase. We want more ranchers in here selling beef, and we're going to do it with Bitcoin option. And we're going to establish these relationships where the rancher's getting exposure. He's getting to tell his story. He's getting to save his legacy. And then the Bitcoiners get to learn about, hey, this is how we're talking about citadels. We're talking about smaller communities. These two groups of people are going to come together and they're going to form something a lot of people don't understand. With these intentional actions that we're doing, we're going to change the food supply, and people are going to start thinking about food differently instead of going through, this marketing plan that is our consumption model.
It's interesting because, like growing up, right? Or even once I've been growing up for a while, you think about food, right? And you're just like, a lot of times I'll just like in the past, right? Because recently I've actually been trying to eat a lot more healthy, just for athletic reasons and stuff. And
so you can dunk.
Yeah, so I can dunk. Exactly. And but like there have been times where it's like, okay, whatever I can just order on my phone and will be at my doorstep the fastest, that's what I'm going to eat. And I think like, and in the back of your mind, like this is not healthy what I'm doing. Like, like this is not the healthiest thing I could be doing for my body. But there's just something you're like, this is going to taste good. It's going to fill me up. It's going to be cheap. And I'm just going to do it right now. So I think it's what you're saying, which is different, is like, there's a difference between doing that, not thinking about your food, but then having that intentionality about, okay, I'm not just going to walk down this life that I don't even think about, but I'm going to plan it out. I'm going to have certain things and certain reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm eating what I'm eating. And I'm going to be aware of what I'm eating, and I'm going to be aware of what I'm putting in my body. I think that's, it's so important that a lot of times we don't think about the body that we're given is the only body that we get in this whole life. We don't get another body. And it's the body that regulates how we feel, our emotions, if we're happy, if we're sad, if we have energy, if we can do the work, if we're good in our relationships, and all these things that we don't think about. And if you're not paying attention to what you're eating and what you're consuming, even outside of food, then it can affect everything in your life, even to how you sleep. And so I think this is a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't think about, even myself included. And it's really good to take a step back and think, okay, maybe I should be more intentional about what I consume with my food and also anything else as well.
I mean, it's a good point, because if you look at it, I mean, in Austin, Texas, whenever I was younger, and in technology there, and it was a lifestyle. We'd stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning. We'd go to Taco Cabana. We'd eat shit food. We'd get drunk. We'd do all that kind of crap. What a wonderful time that was. Well, you know what? Times have changed. You can't afford to do that crap anymore, because the type of as I say, the chemicals and how food has changed even within a decade. You can't be random about this. And if you want to be random about it, then go ahead. You're not going to have a very good life that you should be able to afford yourself. And this is not about health food crap. This is not about diets. This is about being the best you can, man. This is about truly getting some protein to your brain. You look at the medical things that are going on in our nation. I know I've got some doctors that have come to me, and these are doctors that see, like, in the state of Texas. One doctor, they basically see teenage boys every day. Well, those boys are coming in with 200 T cell counts now. And these guys should be having over 1,000 to 1,200 T cell counts as teenagers. They're coming in, basically, they're turning asexual. They're not boys anymore. They're not like what we grew up being. And that's been something that's happened in the last 10 years.
Huh?
Yeah. Oh, so there's a connection with the oils and estrogen?
Sure.
Yeah,
you look, well, let's, all right, now we're going to
Yeah, unpack
holding back.
Yeah.
No.
Let's look at soybean commodity. Okay. Soybean commodities.
Oh,
I had to advertise it earlier. Now y'all
part of
got
the
me
fun.
here. Yeah, there we go.
Fun.
Fucking soy rage, and soy cucks, and all that soy people that love soy. There's so many guys that are eating soy these days and they don't even know it. Soy estrogen, soy rage. I mean, it's a big soy argument. But if you think about how they're trying to basically demonize animal protein, and they're trying to basically replace it with soy and pea protein, and then you look at our teenage boys that are coming in with 200 T cell counts, there's an issue here.
Who's demonizing meat?
I don't know. I guess the global marketing plan that's going on. They just had the global food conference in Glasgow, COP26. They basically tried to classify the cow as a carbon hazard.
Whoa.
And so you didn't hear about that?
No, I don't even know who they are. Who are they?
Well, it's WEF. It's everybody that's doing all the kind of crap that's going through it this world. You look at the WEF and how many connections they have to PepsiCo and all the global corporations that provide us foods. They've got millions and millions of dollars worth of contracts. You got Tyson, which supplies our animal protein here in the United States, and they're one of the biggest processors in the United States. They have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of contracts with fake meat companies. They're trying to say that the cow is killing the atmosphere, that the cow farts. They're using all these types of marketing plans to say, you know, you're a bad person if you eat that cow. And you look at the Super Bowl, how many, I didn't even watch the Super Bowl, but how many fake meat commercials were on? I'm sure there were several. But if you look at the marketing plans from here on out, Burger King, all these fast food places are going to start doing this fake meat. That fake meat is just trash. It's sludge, and they're going to make it taste good. And that's something that you ask people. So why are you eating that? Well, because it tastes good.
What's it made out of?
What's
the sludge it's made out of?
Well, you get all kinds of combinations of the soy protein, the soybean, the pea proteins, just the byproducts.
Vacuum.
All right, so what's the sludge it's made out of, and
that's a term.
And how does it? I understand it's crap. Yeah,
Right,
it's seed oils, it's processed shit. Yeah.
Well, I think the bigger thing is
dog
right,
food. A
Well,
lot of this stuff you put in dog food.
Hold on,
Hey,
it's
dog.
sorry, Lebra.
Oh
It's
man.
racist.
I had to go there, man. I'm sorry.
All right, so
we love dogs.
what's the incentive to selling that food? If I'm Burger King or if I'm McDonald's, my entire vertical is set up to bring me the shit I need for the food that I know I can sell. Why am I going to switch to the sludge? What's that incentive?
Profit margins, control over food supplies. A lot of these companies, these global corporations have signed off to tackle the carbon problem. We're going into a carbon credit economy to where if you don't follow what's going on the global food supply, as far as the big global corporations, you don't get certain subsidies. You don't get to do those write-offs that you get to do. So once again, the quality of the food, it's okay that it goes down as long as it's got the stamp of approval from the FDA and the USDA. Well, that's a lot of corruption within that. And so it doesn't really, if you're not following along with the big boys and you're not providing that sludge, then you're not going to have market access. Let's just talk about market access that nobody ever brings up. What is market access? Well, you get approval to be able to sell your product. And if you control the shipping lanes, you control the supply chain lanes, and you're not selling these products in Burger King or whoever it is, you might not have access to these products where, you get to have these subsidies, you get to have these partnerships, these global corporation companies that get to basically be the directive of what you're going to sell. So it's very complicated. It's nothing that's easy, but whenever your food is coming from 2,000 miles away, there's going to be some touch points that a lot of people don't understand. And that's a podcast within itself.
All right.
I think
I
like
have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Now that you mentioned dog food. So all these chemicals, all the soil, seed, and things that they put into our food, does that apply to dog food too, or just for humans?
Well, you look at, it's funny. I was looking at dog. How many dogs got here by eating vegetables? Not many. Dogs don't eat vegetables.
Yeah.
But most dog foods are now that are made out of vegetables, and they have a marketing plan saying how healthy is this for your dog. And so you look at the type of products that are, and I'm not saying it's the same products, but they create a processing apparatus to where you can put the same product in human food that you can put in dog food. It comes from, it's the same philosophy, some of the same chemicals, preservatives, the type of taste that a dog gets to be, gets manipulated. Well, that same taste was designed by the same company that designed Taco Bell taste. Just everybody say, well, Taco Bell tastes good. I know it's shitty for me, but it sure does taste good. So, there's they're the same companies that are doing this. They're the same corporations that are doing this. How people don't understand that is because they enjoy the marketing plans and they watch TV and they believe the commercials, just like they do with mainstream media. And they think that's news. They think that they watch a commercial about food and say, oh, that's USDA prime beef. That's just a crock of shit anymore, because I'll tell you, a cattle drive that happens every freaking week. South America, you have cattle that is grown, let's say raised in Brazil. That cattle then gets shipped to Mexico. Well, in Mexico, they feed off with a bunch of grains that are from these chemical companies. And then that cattle comes into the United States, in the state of Texas, and they get processed from one of the global corporations that have control over the processing. Well, they get to say, since that cow was processed in Texas, but it came from Brazil originally, they get to say USDA prime beef.
Oh,
Nobody knows this shit.
Yeah.
And then you get all this cattle in Texas that's damn good cattle. It gets processed in Texas, then it gets shipped to China. It gets shipped to Asia, and
What?
they pay top dollar for
What?
it.
Why?
The hell?
Why aren't we getting the good stuff? Why aren't we getting our own meat?
Well, it's because they don't have to, because we're not paying attention. And then you get the ranchers; they don't have any control because they're getting their cattle processed in one of these four global processing companies. You have JBS, you have Cargill, you have National, and you have Tyson. 3 of those companies are based out of Brazil. They're not even American processing companies. They're global processing companies, and those guys have contracts with WEF. And so
They're taking our beef.
Contracts
They are
with
taking-
WAF? For what?
of course, as far as supply chain lines, carbon credits, all kinds of different like international agreements that companies do. And so if they can make the, if they can make,
Just to be clear, the WEF is the World Economic Forum for anyone.
Yeah.
maybe-
Oh,
Sorry.
it's not the wrestling.
Klaus
association?
Schwab and friends.
Yeah, Klaus
I thought we were-
Schwab.
Klaus
We've been
Schwab
working
and the rest of the
thought-
Fabians.
I thought it was the wrestling association.
It
the
is.
world. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the WW. Yeah,
Ah,
close.
wrestling.
I know.
It's the dyslexia. My brain is just melting.
So
because all of that.
Where does Bitcoin even fit into any of this? How does that help fix any of these
Well,
problems?
that's a good question, and I'll spell this out, and I'll try to be. It's a long conversation, but
We don't have
what
enough
I've
time
come
for you
up-
to spell the whole sentence. I just need
I
you to
won't.
speak
I'll-
English.
I'm a pretty bad speller, but anyways, what do? You look at the cattle rancher and you go, hey, cattle rancher, where's your store of value? What is your motivation to make profit at the end of the year? You talk to a lot of cattle ranchers right now, and they say, well, it's got to be in the USDA insurance policy. And you're saying, what? And it's like, well, I can't survive without the USDA insurance policy. And so they're getting subsidized in ways that, they don't want to admit. And not all of them are. And then you ask another one and they say, well, where's your value of your cow at right now? And they'll say, well, it's in the grain that it eats from Cargill or Monsanto, one of the grain companies, because that grain is what's making the profit. Cow's not making the profit. So there's a lot of different touch points. They used to be able to say that the value of the cow is.
Wait,
Let's talk to that. Go ahead.
why are the ranchers saying the value of the cow is in the grain? I don't understand that.
Well, that's the feedlot ranchers. I apologize. You got feedlot ranchers that basically, not the regenerative guys, but you have a lot of feedlot ranchers that require grain to raise their cows. And so they have to look at the price of that grain. They have to monitor the price of that grain. That grain can go up or down. And so where's your profit margin going with that cow?
That's the main
Cow
input.
becomes, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so you look in the past, the value of the cow was maybe in the land that the cow grazed on. Or now a lot of times you'll get the regenerative guys say, well, the value of the cow is in that calf that's coming. So you can't really pinpoint that. Well, let's talk to a rancher that knows all the manipulation, knows the commodity markets, knows that he's screwed every year if he doesn't have a USDA insurance policy. We teach him about a store of value that is decentralized, that is incorruptible, and that can't be seized. Well, you get a rancher that's been ranching for 4 generations, and he knows how his business, and you get him to understanding Bitcoin. There's going to be a light that goes off in the rancher's head, and they're going to understand what Bitcoin is, and they're going to understand that they can leverage a new store of value. And we're pretty early in it, but there's a lot of education that needs to come forward. But I'm bringing on 5 to 6 ranchers every week, and we're educating them about Bitcoin, and they're learning fast because they get it, because they have a decentralized mindset already, and they're very intentional with everything that they do. Go live on a ranch for a year and see if you think you're a hard worker. They are very intentional. They know what they're doing, but they've been manipulated, and they want some help. And I think that a Bitcoin protocol basically, as far as a store of value, is a first step let's talk about transactional Bitcoin. Whenever you can go peer to peer and buy your beef and sell your beef peer to peer, and nobody can screw with you, you don't have to worry about the chemical companies saying how you're going to have to use this USDA insurance policy anymore. The rancher's going to say, no, I'm regenerative now. I'm off the grass. I'm doing it my way. I'm using non-GMO corn and grain. I'm actually using Bitcoin as my transactional layer and my store value. And so they can't touch them. The food supply lines get screwed up. Well, I have a relationship with a local producer that is a processor, and he's using Bitcoin, and I can pay him in Bitcoin now. It's a decentralized food apparatus that we've never seen before, and it's here. And that's what the Beef Initiative is going to kind of move
Think
forward.
locally, fuck globally.
There you go. I mean, why wouldn't you? And if you can't get hyper local, then come through the Beef Initiative, and you'll be able to get your stuff shipped to you or whatever it is, wherever you are. It's this is just not in the nations, in the United States. This is across the world. I mean, there's Princey, with Once Witten, he's buying his beef now from his local processor producer, and he's talking to him about Bitcoin. And we get all the plebs out there eating this way, living this lifestyle, being intentional about it, proof of work. We're gonna make a big impact here in the beginning.
Now, if you're not in Texas, how would one go about finding their local rancher, processor, producer? Because I did a potato Google search just for like my local ranchers, and nothing shows up.
There's ranchers outside of Texas.
Yeah,
That's why I'm asking.
You have alligators ranches over there.
Right.
They're delicious too.
And that it's a good question, because there's some data, there's some data out there. There's some databases that have been created for, there's all kinds of them that are, grass fed, that you can search for. What we're doing right now is we're sourcing a lot of people across the United States and saying, hey, who are you using? And so we're getting input saying, this is who I'm using. It's proof of work from Missouri to Washington to Massachusetts. People are going to start giving us input as far as the Bitcoin space. We do have a database that we're going to release that you'll just go to the Beef Initiative. You'll do a search and it'll have geographical stuff. And we'll try to do as far as verifying as much as we can, but the verifying is going to come from the Bitcoin space, the people that come to the Beef Initiative. And it'll be an iterative process that takes a little time. But the more that the Beef Initiative does get the general awareness of these ranchers are going to come to us, and we're going to verify them. And they're going to want to sell their beef through the Beef Initiative. Or if they need e-commerce help, we'll help them with that within the Beef Initiative as well, to get them up and running to where they can actually be discovered. They're not very good with technology, and they're not very good with websites. And a lot of them rely on like Facebook and stuff like that. And we're trying to change that for them to where it's easier for you, Greg, to find. I mean, if you just hit me up and let me know where you want me to search, I'll find something for you pretty fast. And we're going to make that a little bit more automated moving forward.
Well, I mean, for me, that's easy. But for anybody else who might be watching, they might not have direct access to Texas Slim.
No, they won't. But if they watch this now, they do have direct access.
Okay. All right.
They know how to find me, right? So, I mean, we'll get to do that plug,
Sorry, Sean, I spoke over you. What's up? What do you got?
I was just saying, I have a buddy who they just built their ranch in Utah, and him and his wife, and they're doing a great job out there. They're in their first year of ranching, and they have all types of animals out there. They have cattle, and they have a couple of horses and pigs, everything. If they wanted,
he's a Mormon.
No. And I was just wondering if they wanted to be part of the Beef Initiative, would they just contact you, or how would someone go?
All they have to, anybody, we want input from every rancher in the United States that's doing exactly what your friends are doing. Yeah. We want to at least get them exposure, because maybe they want to talk about their protocol, how they're going about being a first generational rancher.
You heard it here, everybody.
All that.
Texas wants you to expose yourself to them.
Please. I'm a big voyeur, so gotta get in a lot of input here. But we want people to come, and especially we've got a couple of first generational ranchers that are doing it right now. We got Jason Rich out in Colorado. He's first generational. He started off with 400 acres. Now he's up to 4,000 acres that he's actually getting to improve, put his cattle on, and we're going to tell his story for him. And at the same time, we're teaching him about Bitcoin from the ground up. And so we're having that continual conversation. So all they have to do is reach out to me personally or go to the Beef Initiative, and there's a producer page. All they have to do is put their name and their information in the producer page, and it'll show up on our database. And so there's a lot of different ways, but at this point in time, I just want everybody to contact me. I like to have like a 30-minute meeting with everybody and say, how can I help you? How can I help you, educate, or what do you need from other ranchers? All these ranchers are starting to talk to each other and saying, hey, I'm having this kind of luck doing this way. I'm going to this conference. I'm doing this. And it's all decentralized communications at this point in time.
Yeah, it's interesting because normally you think about like a world where someone else is doing the same job that you're doing. Normally you're competing against each other. But in a decentralized world, you're not necessarily competing against each other. You're all like, it's like the rising tide lifts all boats, right? And so as you guys are, as all ranchers are working together, then new ideas are coming across. People can think about new ways, ranchers can think about new ways to do ranching, and then everyone can succeed. Everyone can get healthier food. It just seems like all around win-win situation.
I don't know. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Yellow.
Yeah, go ahead, Yellow.
As I'm listening to you, Slim, I cannot help but think about, like, it's going to be a little bit hard to articulate because I just thought about it. And I don't know if you have like an idea how the future is going to play with local production and Bitcoin. But like, as we saw the relationship between Bitcoin and energy companies and energy in general, like they're using it as battery, they're improving their margins like that. Like food production, beef animals are a kind of energy. We are talking about making that, as we did in energy, that geography doesn't matter that much. Like you can go in a remote place and mine some Bitcoin with excess energy and then send the Bitcoin somewhere more close to the grid, right? Like the geography doesn't matter. So we have that idea too here in the animal aspect of it. Like we're talking about growing quality products locally, right? Like it's gonna be, I don't know how it's gonna play out, but like I think if there's like a new relationship forming around like Bitcoin and how your deal, what you're talking about, actually is gonna like play out in the future, and how disruptive that's gonna be around maybe like locally produced stuff all around the world. And like doesn't matter, like the geography doesn't matter anymore. I don't know if you have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, you look at animal protein and you look at geography, because I'm talking about cattle because I'm in Texas. I mean, I wouldn't talk about anything else, but you go in different regions of the world, what animal protein has got them this far in the first place? One thing that we're doing in Texas is that processing centers are an issue for everybody. In Texas, we have a little leverage because we can have different type of processing centers. One of my producers at KNC Cattle Cole down in Austin, he's opening up a processing center now too. And so what that does, it starts this conversation of people that are basically raising their cattle different ways because they didn't have access to the right processing centers. Now that they're going to have access to Cole's processing center, they're going to change the way that they're raising their produce. And I'm sorry, it's their cattle, how they produce it. What that means is they're going to get off maybe the grain the feedlot type of system, and they're going to go more into a regenerative because they know that they can get their meat processed in a processing center that they don't have to answer to, that's not part of the arm of the global corporations, the chemical companies. And so there's going to be a gradual shift that you see start happening. I think that Texas is going to lead that. And once we start leading that movement of people getting out from underneath that umbrella of the chemical companies, getting more localized, and then in understanding that they can leverage the processing centers that are popping up in the state of Texas, we have created a new form of market access that nobody can really contest because it's localization. It's not competing with the globalists in a big way as far as, every major city is changing all of a sudden. It's a gradual progress, just like suddenly, gradually, and then suddenly. Yeah, then we're gonna see this happen because it'll start becoming a standard, and not everybody's gonna come along with this. There's gonna be people that don't want to eat, this type of food, this type of animal protein. They prove it every day. So it's not going to be for everybody, but I know it's going to be for all Bitcoiners.
Now, is there some sort of win-win condition here where, right, we as Americans, sorry, Europeans and whoever else, fuck you guys, we as America as Americans can eat the cattle that we're producing here and the livestock that we're producing here, and then export the giant global corporation food to our enemies and just make them fat and stupid. Like, where?
Well, of course we could. They do it to us right now.
Let's do it to them. How do we do it to them? Fuck just getting everybody here healthy. Let's fuck up everybody else.
Let's fuck everybody. Well, we start by, we start by not shipping our quality shit overseas. I mean, that's a no-brainer there. And if we can start putting that emphasis that is intentional living that I'm going to do in my local region, then we can do anything. We kind of flip it on its head.
Good.
And we flip it on its head in a localized way that's decentralized.
Because I'm for supporting American large businesses, right? I want them to make a profit. But if they're going to make people fat, stupid, and unhealthy, I want them to make Greeks fat, stupid, and unhealthy.
We can get very philosophical here, and you look at societies and empires, and whenever they fell, it's because their health went to shit because their food went to shit.
Bullshit. It's because their money went to shit.
Well,
yeah, it seems like the money
in unison. If you have shit money, you have shit food. I don't know why people can't understand that, because the quality of food goes down. I have a very good advisor in the beef initiative. Okay. He was in the industrial food complex for about 10 to 12 years. He knows the industrial food complex and how they process food, how they put it all together. You can have a burrito that says 50% beef, 50% beans. Okay. It's a decent burrito. We're going to eat it, whatever.
Sounds like a shitty burrito.
It probably is. But in time, they can say, oh, well, yeah, beef prices are too high. Okay. It's got 30% beef, 70% beans. Mm-hmm. And then, now we can't do that anymore. Beef is too high. We're going to put 10% beef,
inflation,
80% beans. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, all this quality starts going down because why? Because we're devaluing the dollar. The dollar has less value. And so we can't afford to pay too much for all this. The consumer's going to pay for it, but we're not going to pay for it. So we're going to put this shit commodity in these burritos, and people are going to still eat it because they think it tastes good.
Your $5 burrito can't stay $5.
Exactly.
If they keep it. Yeah.
Exactly. You think about even like the Little Caesars. That $5 pizza was a $5 pizza for a long time. Yeah. And it's probably just got so bad that they had to raise the price. I mean, Subway had the $5 footlongs forever ago.
Exactly.
And a footlong now is like $9. It's like it's not even close to a $5 footlong, and it's still probably worse quality now than it was.
It's by far worse. I think Taco Bell's bringing back 25-cent tacos or something like that. It's just, and people it tastes good. that's what I always hear.
That's part of the problem is if you don't have a lot of money, then you're gonna buy the worst food because it just fills you up for right now.
So what do you say to the argument where, like,
you whore,
somebody like Sean, you're a whore, somebody like Sean who's like 8'2", he grew
Right.
up. He grew up eating Subway and Taco Bell and all this horse shit. And look at him.
McDonald's.
Look at him. He's a giant, athletic beast of a man. Right? Women, as he walks by, he makes women faint when he just walks by. Mainly it's because of the smell, but it's also because he's a handsome man. So, I mean,
He
if
has T cells. What was about the T
yeah,
cells?
he's got his
Yeah,
T cells are. He's got like 3 million.
My T cells are at
Poster
2,000.
boy on the
Yeah,
T-cells.
he's
No,
leaking T cells out of his skin, right?
Yes.
So like,
Right.
so what do I say to a person? I'm like, oh, you need to eat healthy, and he's like, well, look at fucking Sean.
Right. Well,
What,
No,
what?
no. Hold on.
No. This is my narrative. You shut up.
Okay.
I'll
Sorry.
I
go
don't-
ahead.
I don't see a lot of teasers right now, actually.
Yep.
I'll say this about Greg. Comparison is the thief of joy for starting off, Greg.
Yeah.
So way to go, man.
You're a thief.
But as far as Mr. Sean Harris, he's not the one that we want to compare this to, right? What we want to compare it to is that people that do not have access to good food. Yeah, Sean ate a lot of crap. I ate a lot of crap. We all have. But whenever it becomes the only thing that you consume and it's done by design because of the taste or the monetary or lack thereof of monetary value, then you're having an issue. And then once you get that type of mindset into the society, you become 70% obese and overweight and you become diabetic. That's what happens because we're comparing things to the wrong, I guess, attributes of our consumption models. We need to remember that we're all going to eat crappy every once in a while. But if we're turning it into a 24/7 consumption that we're eating every 4 hours because we're always hungry, because the food has been modified to make you hungry every 4 hours and you're never full. I mean, we are overfed at this time that we've ever been in the history of man, and we're the most undernourished that we've ever been. And
it's like looking at Charlie Munger, right? Recently, he's had some terrible takes on Bitcoin, right? He's like, "Oh, I'm proud that I've never invested in Bitcoin before." It's like, okay, well, that's something stupid to be proud about, and right? Because he's wrong, and like they were wrong. Berkshire was wrong about Apple for years, and then they finally got into Apple when it was like way later on. They still made a fortune out of it, but it's like you can still like look at someone who's a billionaire and be like, you can fix certain things, right? Obviously, you want to look at inside yourself. It's not about pointing out who's wrong, but it's more about fixing what maybe you have to fix yourself first. And then like if anyone is willing to listen, then they will listen. And I look at this a lot like almost like the El Salvador of Bitcoin, what you're trying to do with the Beef Initiative, where it's like El Salvador, El Salvador decided to opt in to Bitcoin. It wasn't, no one forced them to do it, right? Like it was an opt-in thing. And it's the same thing with the Beef Initiative. It's like, this is an opt-in. If you want to, you can do it. You're going to see the results. You're going to be healthier. You're going to have less obesity, which leads to death, like faster death, disease, all those things. Or you can stay on this path where it's obvious where this path leads to if you don't make the change. And I think that's like the bigger difference. Like, okay, yeah, I ate a lot of bad food growing up, but I was also like running every day, doing track. I was running every day, doing basketball, run every day, doing football, like all these different things. So it's a little different. And there's always going to be these billionaires out there who have a lot of money who have no idea about Bitcoin too. So I think it's just something that can be decentralized. As it gets decentralized and people opt in and people see a difference, then it's just like a little grassroots thing that just it's just like this snowball that keeps rolling, and more people are like, oh, what's this thing going on over here? This makes a lot of sense. And then all of a sudden, boom, everyone's doing it because they see okay, do you want to be a part of a society where everyone's just like fat and lazy and dumb, or a society where people are good looking, they're lean, they're thin, they're healthy, there's less disease? It just makes sense,
It does. I mean, we talk about, we've got to replace the money. Hard money has to be here. Well, hard nutrition has to be here along with the hard money.
Yeah.
You can't have a change in our monetary system unless we change the food system. The decentralized food system has to come with the decentralized money system. And if you can't make that correlation, you need to start understanding that's the only way it's going to happen. Whenever what controls our world right now, we say money. No, it's the seed. Everything that we do in this life is based on a seed of something that we turn into our consumption for our nutritional value. Let's get to the source of the seed again. Let's decentralize it in a way that our grandparents used to do. Let's use Bitcoin protocol to help us get us there, and then store that value to where we have that heritage and that legacy that we're all hoping for.
You're here.
Here.
That's how I see it.
Nice.
Reach.
I think that's.
And if we start bringing the food into the conversation, into the Bitcoin space, and just kind of make it symbiotic, it's going to be more fun. We're all going to have a good time. I mean, people are having conferences. I mean, it's something we can do across the nation, across the world. Is like, let's start really focusing on that and put as much intentionality as we are into the money, into the food.
What's the meme? How do you push this thought?
Yeah, that's what I was relying on you guys for, man. What the shit? I can't do memes.
How T cells you have? Great.
7 or 8.
Man,
7 or 8.
Yeah, we got T cells. We got soy sauce. You guys can get busy on this. I know you can. Collectively, you're gonna kick it out. So
I like T cells.
I can see you got that.
What's a normal T cell?
Get that mountain theme.
What's a normal T cell count? Do you know?
It depends on your age, really. But I mean, you
worried.
The specimen that you are, Sean. I mean, you got to be banging on like 800 to 1,000.
Easy.
So,
Yeah. How many are you banging, Sean? 800, 1,000.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah, collectively.
Collectively.
I don't even know what we're talking about right now.
Wait, now is it
T-cells.
Is it T cells or is it T count
It's
like testosterone?
Man.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Yeah, it's all
No,
it's testosterone.
T cells are the ones that fight. They're the ones with the memory that fight like antigens.
Yeah,
they're the
T
ones,
count. We're talking
count.
testosterone.
Yeah, so we're talking testosterone.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry about that. Yeah, my bad.
So you're wrong way less than I am. You got nothing to do.
I get to rehearse all this stuff all the time. So a lot of education going on these days. So
Higher T cell until 100K.
there you go.
100K T cell.
There you go, man.
So speaking of education, like where can people find out more about the Beef Initiative?
Go to beefinitiative.com for one. And then on Twitter, we have @Beef Initiative. And then, of course, me @ModernTMan. And if you want to get into the Telegram, it's @Beef Initiative as well. So there's 4 touch points that you can kind of get an entry into being a better person that eats animal protein.
All right. And while we've got you on the show, I mean, this is your opportunity. Do you have any questions for any of the Meme Factory members?
Why have you not jumped on the Beef Initiative wagon before now? What the hell are y'all waiting on? Y'all eating pizza pockets and shit?
Well, what does it look like when one jumps on the Beef Initiative wagon?
Well, I really did think about this today. I was like, man, I hope that I come up with the one takeaway is that I think that we need to flood Bitcoin Twitter with a bunch of damn memes that make people feel like a bunch of soy boys for not being part of the Beef Initiative.
I think you're right.
I mean, we have that power.
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Let's blow it up. I mean, it's we got cows, we got horses, we got cowboys, we got all kinds of stuff.
Time out. You're eating horses?
No.
I mean, I heard they're delicious.
You know, cowboys ride horses still, so it does happen. We got that, we got the cowboy way that we can get crazy with. How's that?
All right. Now, the most important question, and usually we have RD ask this because he's
God.
It's the best part. It's the best question of the show, really. It's just if the Meme Factory existed, and we all know it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Accent.
Sorry, let me retry this. If a Meme Factory existed, and we all know it doesn't,
Meat.
who
Nothing.
in it? Who would you like Who would you mute, and who would you retweet?
In it.
In it, oi, fish and chips.
Okay, that was the question though.
That was the question. That was the
I'm thinking. I just have to say it has to be fuck you, Greg. I mean, you've always been the best. So it is. I'm sorry. You paid attention.
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. I've always
Fuck
been the
you,
best.
Greg.
What?
Yeah, you've always been the best
You would like
at being able to say fuck you, Greg.
That's right.
Everybody else is too cool. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even know what fuck you, Greg means, and I still don't know to this day.
You're doing
So
it right.
I'm just happy that I get to say it on air. So, that's all that really matters.
All right.
Fuck you, Greg.
Now wait. The question is you saying
Okay.
fuck you, Greg? Is that a retweet, or is that a like or a mute?
That's a mute. That's a mute. For
That's a mute.
Yeah, I guess it's a mute.
All right. So who you liking? Who in the group are you shooting a like over to? Who you sending hearts to?
Right now, it's Yellow since he's overseas.
He's also got that steak in his hands.
Nice.
He does look at him. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty.
All right. Who you
He's
retweeting?
multitasking.
He is. Who
Yeah.
who are you retweeting?
Big Sean Harris.
Oh, good choice. Good choice.
Nice.
Good choice. Especially because
Higher,
I don't know
higher
if you
diesels.
I don't know if you know
And,
he's
and as far as Labra, I just can't keep up with him, man. What are you on? 24 now?
20.
20? Okay.
what happens after 21?
No,
Yeah.
there will be more.
Do you
There
go
will
away?
Nobody
No.
knows.
be- No, I've already said
There will only be 21 Labradoodles.
He
Nobody
goes
knows what's
back. He,
happening.
he goes back to zero, and he does like the O's with zero.
That would be
Yes.
pretty funny. That would be pretty funny.
Hyper Labradization?
Yeah.
Hyperlabrades.
Oh, one last,
Something like that. That's hard to say.
one more thing.
Hyper Labradization 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's what we should do. When we get past 21, we all become Labradoodle.
No.
That would be.
We were all Greg. We were all Greg for a week.
I didn't choose that. You guys just surprised me one morning with that bullshit. I woke up one morning and every tweet in my freaking timeline had my own damn face on it. That was the weirdest day in my life.
I have a request. Okay, there's one graphic that's out there, and I found it. And what it is, it's a bull, and he's basically gored some dude up in the air, about 8 feet up in the air. Okay, and I've made something on it. I can get you guys the graphic, but what it is, it's Pancho Villa was fighting a bull in Mexico, and that bull got him with his horn and just threw him up. And it's the perfect little graphic. You guys will like it. So
All
if y'all
right.
can do something with that, that'd be pretty badass.
Okay. I'm sure we can figure something out.
I think you can. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you guys. I'll DM it to you.
All right. So
Floyd boys when they say they don't want to eat beef.
there you go. All right. So on that note, is there anything that you want to leave our viewers with? Any actionable items? Any pieces of wisdom before we head out for the night?
If you have a rancher or an animal protein supplier that you're using in the United States, come to the Beef Initiative, go to the producers page and help your rancher out and put their information in there. Let's show that it's verified and that we trust it and that everybody can do a little proof of work right now. Let's get everybody helping each other right now and to get access, and we'll take it from there.
All right.
All right.
Well, so,
And let's all be good Bitcoiners. I try. I learn from you guys. So I got here late, so I'm here now.
all right. I appreciate it, Slim. We appreciate you you making the time to come on here and talk with us. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Peace.
Every night.
Thank you, man.